All right, my friends, welcome to episode 684 of Extreme Health Radio. I am glad you're here because this is going to be an amazing show. We got Peggy Hall on the show today, and we're going to talk about solutions, all right? Not from a scientific perspective, but from a legal perspective. And there's a lot of people out there whining and crying out there in the natural health world right now, and justifiably so. There's a lot of draconian laws, a lot of unjust things that are happening in the world, and that's justifiable, but we now need to lean more towards solutions. And so we're going to talk about masks, vaccines, and all that kind of stuff today, and what we can do about it with Peggy Hall from thehealthyamerican.org. So I will introduce her in just a second. This is going to be a great show, and if you guys want to check out the show notes for today's show, if you're on a run, you're doing something, driving around, all the show notes will be available at extremehealthradio.com/684. 684. So that's all you got to remember, and I'll repeat that during the show in case you want to grab the show notes for the sponsors. You want to head on over to Peggy's website, which I highly suggest you do, and sign up to her email list. I'll put links to everything that we talk about on today's show at extremehealthradio.com/684. So if you're new to our show, we do shows every Friday morning at 10:45 a.m. Pacific time, and we do them live for as long as social media giants will have us. We don't know how long that's going to be. Obviously, today is Peggy Hall. We're going to talk about masks and health freedom. And then next week, we got Dr. Gilbert Renaud, and we'll talk about recall healing and the spiritual, emotional aspects of healing from sickness and disease. That's going to be eye-opening. We've had him on the show a couple times, and recall healing is a powerful avenue to look at if you're looking for deeper causes for your diseases or your health challenges. Then we got Jason Prahl back on the show. We're going to talk about ancient methods of healing mind, body, and soul, and he is from the Human Longevity Project. He's just down in Carlsbad, just south of us, so it'll be great to have him on the show. Excuse me. And then PJ Harlow, we're going to talk about mold toxicity and how to rid your home of mold and the implications of not doing that on your health. And then next Friday after that, we're going to have Jason Christoff. We're going to talk about self-sabotage, why we do it, and how to stop it. So lots of cool shows coming up on Extreme Health Radio. And thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate you guys being here, for sharing our shows, and all of that's good stuff. Your support over the years means the world to us. So today we've got Peggy Hall on the show. She's the founder of the Healthy Americans. She's a national leader in the freedom movement, and she's dedicated to breathing the life back into liberty. She's the former director of teachers education at the University of California, Irvine, just up the street from us, and she's been an educator for 30 plus years. She has a bachelor's degree in political science, a master's degree in international relations, years of experience in the health education field as a community activist. And what I like about her the most is that she's focused on solutions, not whining and crying about what's going on in the world, but she's focused on actual solutions. So it's an honor to have Peggy on the show. Peggy, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, Justin, it is my honor. I can't wait to dive in and get to some of those solutions for the problems that we're facing.
Yeah, like I said before, there's so many people just sort of whining and crying, right? And justifiably so, right? Our world has changed in the last year, but it's time to sort of put our big boy pants on and get to work, right?
Yeah, when all of this, I call it hogwash, was slopped over us almost, coming up on a year now, which is amazing to think about. When our lives, our way of life, our society and all that was kind of changed forever. I was really frustrated in the beginning, and I couldn't find people who were like-minded. So I made a list of those that I could rely on, knowing that they sort of knew what was going on. And everyone, except for my husband, was a YouTuber. Because I thought, the YouTubers are going to know the score. Yeah. And I made a list and I started watching. But what happened, Justin, is I felt worst, as I say, because worst is worse than worse. I felt worst after watching them because I would just get, spinning with frustration and anger and outrage without any solutions. And so that's when I thought, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I understand politics, I understand the law. Let me dive in and make sense of this, and let's come up with some how-tos, some action steps.
Yeah, and guys, I would really recommend signing up to Peggy's newsletter at thehealthyamerican.org. I'm telling you guys, like we're just saying, there's a lot of people just very down about things, and like we said, justifiably so. But there are solutions, guys, and she has, like, I think I just signed up the other day for your 75 responses to wearing a mask. Is that what it was?
Yeah, 75 responses when someone tells you have to put on a mask.
Yeah, and you know
Some
what?
of
By
them
the
are
way,
snarky.
I watched the video that you put on your Facebook the other day of something, I forget her first name, Choi or Cho, and she went into a CVS and the cops surrounded her for not wearing a mask, right?
Yeah, Nari is actually my first mate at the Healthy American. She helps me with my events and communications and so forth. She single-handedly got the sheriff from the county of Los Angeles to remove a page off the website that said masks are law. And she
Really?
called and she said, "There is no law. Show me the law. These are guidelines." And the next day, and it was on ABC News and everything that, oh, the sheriff's department, has a press release, blah blah blah. And you go to the website and that page is down. So
Wow.
we do take action. And that video, I think, is an excellent one where she is using everything she learned about her rights and how to defend them. When we get into some of the solutions, Justin, I want to talk specifically about the issues people are having of being the cops are being called on them for trespassing. I want to
Mhm.
explain what that law is, at least in California. Probably it's the same in other states.
Yeah, it's really powerful because what she's doing, what she did in CVS, I think is just an incredibly powerful thing because it is easy. It's very easy to just put the mask on and, you don't get hassled. And, I'm not going to judge anyone for doing it, but man, it's time for us to start standing up for our rights. And like you said, the cops were coming in there talking, telling her about trespassing. It's not happening.
Yeah, it's funny you say it's easy to put the mask on. It's actually hard to put the mask on. I don't wear a mask. I never have worn a mask. I never will wear a mask against my will. Um, that there is no law that requires me to do so. And even if masks worked, and there's no evidence for that, but even if they did work, there is no law that can be made that requires you to restrict your breathing. We can only breathe through our nose and our mouth. And these guidelines, which is all they are guidelines to cover your face, your nose, and your mouth, restricts your breathing. And we have rights. Rights are things that can't be taken from you. A right is something you are born with. It is inherent. You are born with God-given rights. And the number one right is your right to life. And life requires oxygen. Now, if you or someone individually decides that they are okay with restricting their oxygen, and trust me, after almost a year of this work with hundreds of thousands of healthy Americans all around the world, I've heard it all. I've heard every complaint. I've heard every obstacle. I've heard every challenge. I've heard every response. Peggy, doctors wear these in surgery. That's right. And I'm not a doctor. And I'm also not a fireman. And I'm also not a policeman. And I don't put myself in harm's way by wearing a mask. And doctors change their masks every 30 minutes. There is a very strict protocol for how they wear the mask, how they put it on, and how it's disposed of. They have oxygen pumped into the room to increase levels of oxygen. Why? Because masks decrease levels of oxygen. So as you said, Justin, people can do what they want. Many people come to me because they are struggling with not being able to breathe, with having problems with their skin because of the bacteria that is being kept on the skin in a moist environment where bacteria will thrive. There are people that are having fibrosis of the lungs from breathing in the tiny pieces of fabric and so forth, and the different molecules. And you're a health show, so these, you know about toxic elements, and these masks are made mainly out of plastic. So you literally, the OSHA, which is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration in the United States, and then every state has their own OSHA. So our Cal OSHA recently and unlawfully passed an emergency regulation where they are strongly suggesting, because again, it's not a law, that employers require their employees to put a piece of plastic over their nose and mouth. It literally says that. It says that the employees should cover their nose and mouth with a non-woven material. A non-woven material is plastic. And it says either a non-woven material or a tightly woven material, meaning no air can come in. So if people haven't gotten the clue yet that this is harmful, this is the day to get the clue. It's very harmful. I have all of the remedies available. We can talk about some of those. No one can force you against your will to undertake a medical intervention. The FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, and not that I care about what the FDA says, but it's important for people to understand that the FDA is the federal department that has the authority to authorize and approve medical devices. And why is that important to us? Because the FDA classifies those blue and white surgical masks as a medical device. And why does that matter to you? Because a medical device, using a medical device, can only be prescribed by a doctor, a licensed medical doctor. And last time I checked, the store clerk or the store manager at your local grocery store is not a licensed medical doctor. And for anyone to tell you, let's say it's your son's soccer coach, that your son has to put on a medical device is practicing medicine without a license. And that is illegal. And there's a penal code and a penalty, and it's a crime in California to practice medicine without a license. So no one has the authority to tell you to undertake only a doctor has the authority to tell you to undertake a medical intervention. And further, you have the right to not consent. If you break your leg and you go to the emergency room and they want to fix your broken leg and they want to give you a shot of morphine, you can refuse the shot of morphine. You can say, no, I don't want the morphine. I just want you to fix my broken leg. And they cannot deny your treatment for the broken leg because you refuse the morphine. So when people tell me, and again, I've heard thousands upon thousands of distressing events where people were trying to go to the dentist or have an ultrasound for the baby, which I know we don't recommend. You don't recommend that. I don't either. At least I saw that on your website. But people that are going in, they want pregnant women to wear a mask during labor. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Pregnant women should not be wearing a mask. No individual that breathes oxygen should be wearing a mask. And you don't have to. You are protected by your Patient's Bill of Rights, and I can get into more detail about that. But the point being, no law can ever be made that is lawful, that is legitimate, they will try to do it, that would require you to self-suffocate. And that's what a mask is. It's a self-suffocation device.
Yep, it definitely is. So I emailed you yesterday and saying, hey, what should we talk about? Because you have so many different aspects of what you do in empowering people. And you said, let's talk about masks. And so for those that are living under a rock, President Biden, whether or not you want to call him that or not, is starting to do a 100-day mask mandate. And so let's talk about the different branches.
It's not a mandate, Justin.
Oh, it's not.
I have to cut you off there. Okay. Don't use the word mandate, please. It's not a mandate. It's a challenge.
Oh, it's a challenge. Okay, so let's get into like the different aspects of government and what Biden represents. Let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, you are someone who is aware. You are someone who is informed. You are in the health field. And even you, Justin, fell prey to the terminology of a mask mandate. There's no such thing as a mandate. And what I mean by that is there's no authoritative definition of the word mandate, which is why they're using it. There's a statute, which is a law, and a statute is a law that was passed legitimately through the legislative body. So in the federal government, we have a Congress, which is the Congress and the Senate, and both houses have to agree on a bill that is then sent to the president to be signed into law. And that is a statute. It is and whether we agree with the outcome of that law or not, it is passed or should be passed in a legitimate lawmaking process. So in our state government, we also have a Senate and an Assembly. And those two houses of government, except for I think for the state of Nebraska, only has one house. But the legislative body is the only body that has the authority to pass laws. So you also have a city council. A city council can pass ordinances, but no mayor can make a law, no governor can make a law, and no president can make a law, period. So the reason why they're using the word mandate is because it sounds like a law. It sounds legitimate. It sounds like it has a penal code attached to it. It sounds like there is a penalty if you don't follow it. And that is false. It's a false, fake, fraud. It doesn't exist. So only statutory laws are actual laws. And there's a number. And regulations are a type of law, which again, some would argue unlawful. Regulations are the rules that are created by departments, government departments or agencies like the DMV, right? Or the Department of Education or your school board. These regulations are intended to carry out statutory law. So in California, there is a law, a statutory law. It's not called a mandate because it's a law. And this law says that you have to be 16 years old to be able to get a driver's license in California. There's a statutory law. Now, in order to carry out that law, to fulfill that law, the DMV, which is a department, a government department, Department of Motor Vehicles, it exists in every state. The DMV now can create regulations to carry out that law. So they can create forms, they can decide what's on the test, they can say when the test is going to be given. All of that is not handled by the legislature, but it's handled by the department. So these are types of regulations. Are they lawful? Well, they are if they don't violate any existing law. Every state in the United States has their own constitution and has their own set of regulations, which is why in a different state, you might be able to drive at the age of 15. And why in Nevada, you have gambling, but you don't have it in California, unless you're on the Indian reservation, or I think that's what they're called, the Indian territory. So the reason I want to explain this is because people are using the word mandate because they saw it on the news or they heard it, or the government is even actually using it. So the only thing that is a law is a law. A measure, a rule, a recommendation, a guideline, a restriction, a policy, none of those are laws, and they don't need to be followed. We have law enforcement. We don't have mandate enforcement. We don't have guideline enforcement. You go to a court of law to have your disputes settled. You don't go to a court of guidance, a court of policy, a court of mandate. It's extremely important that people understand the language that is being used. Another way they try to trick us is the FDA is saying that there are authorized vaccines and there are authorized COVID tests. Authorized is not the same as approved. To have something approved by the FDA goes through, and again, you can argue with that. I'm not a fan of the FDA. I'm just stating the fact that authorized means they rushed it through. There were no years of clinical studies and side effect tracking. So everyone who is wearing a mask, everyone who is getting a COVID test, everyone who is getting a vaccine is participating in a medical experiment as defined by the FDA. So to go back to Biden signed an executive order. And you cut me off anytime, Justin, because I've got an on switch, but I don't really have an off switch. So
I gotcha.
You dive in anytime, but let me answer the question specifically.
Sure.
Biden signed an executive order. What is an executive order? First of all, an executive order is not allowed for in the Constitution. There is no article or section or statement in the US Constitution that gives a president power to issue an executive order. So let's see what is in the Constitution. The president has one job, which is to uphold the Constitution and to carry out the laws that were created by the Senate and our Congress, and that he signed into law. The president can also make treaties if there is a 2/3 approval of the Senate, and the president make 8 task forces and committees to carry out the functions of the executive branch. So an executive order, think of a time when you were working, you had a boss and your boss gave you an assignment. Did the assignment that your boss gave you, did that apply to your family and your spouse and your kids? No, it applied just to your work at hand. It applied to you. Why? Because you work for that company and you work for that boss. An executive order is a job assignment from the president only to those who work in the federal government. I did work for the federal government years ago. I worked for the Department of the Navy. I worked for the I worked for the state government in California at the University of California is a type of government entity. I've worked for the county of California, and I've worked for local cities. So I'm very familiar with how government works. People believe that an executive order is a type of proclamation of law. It's not. No president, no governor, no mayor for that matter, no sheriff, no health officer, no court has any authority to create a law. They certainly don't have any authority over your life, your actions, your decisions, your movement, your choices. None of that is lawful. So Biden issued a statement. Think of it as a press release. That's all it is. It's a press release that you can read for your information. And I read it. I studied it carefully. First of all, the media was reporting that he had issued this executive order, and there was no executive order, because you can go on whitehouse.gov and you go under presidential actions, and all of the executive orders are listed there. And I made a video yesterday. I made a video on Wednesday, late Wednesday, when all of this media was being announced about his 100 days of masking. And first of all, there was no executive order that was published. So the media had it in advance. And that executive order, I still have not seen it signed. I have only seen it published on the whitehouse.gov website, but I never saw the order. The order needs to be signed, and there needs to be a presidential seal, and it needs to be filed also, I believe, with the secretary. I need to see where that is, but it needs to be filed as well, perhaps with the Department of Justice. I need to double check that. And the same thing in your state. Any governor's executive order has to be filed with the Secretary of State. And if it's not signed and filed, it has no force whatsoever.
Okay. Hey, real quick, Peggy, I'm curious about these businesses that are local to us. Like, you've done ones on Costco and CVS and, Sprouts and things. What's going on with these businesses? Are they taking government money, and as a result of that, they're having to follow the government's guidelines and making all their customers wear masks? Or why are the businesses still requiring people to wear masks? What's up with that?
Well, we're entering the age of what's called corporatism. And that means where the corporations make the laws. This has been a long time coming. It's something that people have alerted the public to about. It's a type of fascism. It's a different type of government where the government is actually, our form of government was created as a republic. And that word republic means of the people. Republic, right? You see the word public, of the people. And it's the only government in the world that was created where the people are in charge, or are supposed to be in charge, where the government works for us. Every other country in the world had or has and still has an individual who can open their mouth and proclaim a law. And the United States was founded by we the people, where we give consent to those who rule over us. I don't even like the word rule, who represent us. They're supposed to represent us. So, and the reason why this is important, Justin, is because that type of representational government, which is a republic of the people, it's not a democracy. Be very, very careful of those who continually use the word democracy. We have to save our democracy, fight for our democracy. No, we fight for freedom, not a democracy. A democracy can be defined as majority rule, and that's not what we have. We have a representation. So we elect someone to represent us, and we get to put in our place our order. And if those of us who speak out and seek out our representatives, and we say, hey, we want to place an order for, tacos and enchiladas, and they come back and they bring us fried chicken and burgers, they didn't listen to us. They are not supposed to make their decisions based on what they want to do. They are supposed to represent the people. That's what a representative type of form of government is. Now, because I just said that no governor can make a law, and no president can make a law, and no mayor can make a law, and no sheriff can make a law, and no health officer can make a law, they know that, and they have worded these emergency orders and executive orders very carefully to confuse those who don't have the ability or don't want to take the time to be a critical thinker, which is to dig deeper and to look at the definitions of the words. So they come out with the words such as, we have a policy, we're asking for these measures, there are COVID restrictions. Well, restriction is not a law. And because the government knows this, they have kicked the can down the road to make these stores the law enforcement. And they do it, I believe, through fraud, by giving them money, by intimidating them and strong-arming them. And actually, it's kind of like a crime syndicate where they are terrorizing them and harassing them, saying, if you let somebody in your store that has a mask on, we are going to fine you X number of dollars. Now, I don't think that they do, but that's the strong arming technique. And they're using the stores as a form of government. I call it the United States of Costco, because Costco now is creating store policies that are against the law. We have laws that protect us and protect our freedom. And Costco telling you that you cannot come into the store because you don't have a mask on is like telling you that you cannot come into the store because you're Black, because you're in a wheelchair, because you're elderly, or because you speak a foreign language. It is absolutely, utterly ridiculous. It is illegal. It is immoral. It is unethical. It turns my stomach. I will never shop at Costco for the rest of my life. And the question comes, well, are there lawsuits? There are plenty of lawsuits. Who has deeper pockets? My neighbor next door that wants to go shop at Costco, or Costco? I call it Comico. It's so egregious. And of course it has ties to Bill Gates's father was on the board. It comes out of Seattle. Nothing, a lot of bad stuff comes out of Seattle. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And no store can make a policy that violates the law. That would be like Costco having Fist Fight Fridays. Come on in on Friday. You can punch whoever's not looking. We think it's funny, and the law enforcement won't do anything because it's a private property. You had to pay a membership, and we can do whatever we want. Oh, let's go to Walmart for Pickpocket Tuesday. Oh, sure. You can pick someone's pocket at Walmart because it's a private store and it's our policy, and law enforcement won't do anything. Oh, by the way, at Sprouts now, you've got to punch Granny in the face as a condition of entry. And if you don't want to punch Granny in the face, you have to snort a line of cocaine because we heard that it's good for you and it keeps COVID away. And by the way, you need to have a tattoo in order to be checked out, so that, no, all of it's nonsense. All of it's hogwash. It has to be fought against. I have never worn a mask. I have plenty of food in my house. I've been able to go to the dentist, go to the vet, go shopping. People are just not standing up to it. It is actually, I don't care so much about Costco. What I care about is the people that are complying. Why are you complying? Why are you eagerly, giddily, willingly, and excitedly giving away your freedom and digging your own grave? I don't have tolerance for that any longer. People now have all the information they need. Maybe in the beginning, few weeks in or something, people didn't know, but the jig is up. This is hogwash.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. So when you go in there, they're always going to pull that card that they pulled with the video on your Facebook page. Is they're going to use that word trespass. So let's talk a little bit about that, because they're going to claim, just a claim, unproven claim, that you're trespassing. So let's get into what that means and whether or not people are actually trespassing, and kind of pick that apart a little bit. I think that will help people.
Yes. The most important thing for people to understand, in my view, are their rights and the laws that protect them. So the charge of trespassing, and I'm going to read you the law in California. It's Penal Code 602. And so it goes on and on and on. There are several subsections of this penal code. And it says that if you are, in order for there to be a violation of trespassing, there have to be trespass signs that are displayed. Let's say you have private land. There have to be no trespassing signs displayed on the land.
Okay.
So if you have a farm, you've got a large, you've got your manufacturing facility, you have to have no trespassing signs out there. Trespassing is when you are willfully destroying any fence on the enclosed land of another. You're opening any gate, bar, fence of another and willfully leaving it open without permission of the owner. If you are mutilating or destroying any sign or signboard or notice forbidding being on private property, building fires on any lands that are owned by another where signs forbidding trespass are displayed, there is a violation. Entering lands under cultivation, so farmlands, or lands that are enclosed by a fence or belonging to or occupied by another person, or if you enter those, any roads and trails entering on the lands without written permission of the owner of the land. Now, if you refuse or fail to leave the lands, those I'm talking about public space, or if you discharge a firearm, or if you enter and occupy any real estate property or structures of any kind without the consent of the owner, that could be a trespass. But listen to this. It's very important. It's section O, like LMNOP, O, the letter O. 6020 says, refusing or failing to leave land, real property, or structures belonging to or lawfully occupied by another and not open to the general public. It's a slam dunk. CVS is open to the general public. Costco is open to the general public. You can go in and use the pharmacy even if you don't have a Costco membership. You can go in and use the restrooms at Costco even if you don't have a Costco membership. You can go into Costco for the purpose of getting a Costco membership, and Costco is not a private membership association. Membership is available to anyone who pays for it. So Costco and any store and any library and any dentist office and any bank and any hotel and any jewelry store and any restaurant and any bar and any place that is not a private home or a church or a private membership association where there is strict rules of membership, such as the Outer Wichita Men's Club for Democrats. Okay, I can't join it. I don't live in Outer Wichita. I'm not a male and I'm not a Democrat, so I can't join that club. Those are the only 3 private entities that are recognized by law. CVS is making a false arrest and a false claim of trespassing because CVS is open to the general public. Further, when you are there to shop, you don't even need to shop. You can walk into CVS and browse. You don't even need to have money. And you have the right to be in CVS. You have the right to be anywhere you want except in someone's home, a place of worship, and a private membership association. You can go into a doctor's office. You can go into a hospital. You can go into a bank, the DMV, a courthouse, any business. How is that defined by law? A public accommodation is defined as a private business engaged in commerce. Hospitals, doctor's office, dentist's office, the veterinarian, the dog groomer, a school. You have the right to be there. You have the right to be there. And you are not trespassing. And if they ask you to leave, now here's where it gets tricky. They are going to say, we're asking you to leave. And if you don't leave, we are going to call the police. And that's exactly what they did. So when the police come, your question for the police is, number 1, remove your mask so I can identify you. You have an armed weapon and you have your face concealed, and that's a crime in California and in most states. If you are carrying a weapon and your identity is concealed and you are in the midst of a crime, and the police are actually committing a crime of violating your personal liberty because you have the right to be in that store. These trespassing charges, many people have written to me and have shown me videos of being handcuffed and arrested for trespassing because they're trying to put food on their table in the United States of America. Does this sound like a free society to you? These charges of trespassing are being dropped by the DA because here's how it works. The police get a call. First of all, they should never arrive for that call. That's the problem number one. The law enforcement is ignorant. It's either ignorant or incompetent or intentionally trying to harass people. Mm-hmm. And there are laws that protect us against harassment of law enforcement. So first of all, the law enforcement should never be sent. Law enforcement should only be sent out to keep the peace, or, if there was an accident or injury or something like that. If there was an injury or potential injury or potential violence, and to keep the peace. They cannot be sent out for a mask or to enforce a mask because there is no law regarding masks. They cannot be sent out on a trespassing charge that is an unlawful charge. When the police show up, you ask them to remove their mask so you can get their identity. You ask for their badge number. And most importantly, you say, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence of trespassing? Having someone tell you to leave is not evidence of trespassing. There need to be two witnesses that a person was trespassing. And trespassing can also be inferred that if they were interrupting the conduct of business, if the person was sweeping products off the shelf and shouting out expletives and doing something that was criminal. There is no criminal act of somebody trying to buy groceries. That's not a criminal act. Buying groceries is not against the law. The grocery store has something called a care of duty. They are in the business of selling products. They have to sell those products. That's what they're there for. They have a business license from the city that they're in. And I have a whole list of complaints that can be made when your rights are violated. So the police are out of line. What happens is when, let's say that an officer goes out, he makes an arrest, he has to do a police report. He has to send that report of the incident to his chief, and then the chief reviews it, and then the chief sends it to the district attorney. And the district attorney is the person that makes the actual charge of trespassing against the individual. And before that district attorney does so, he should, or she, if they're competent, and apparently they're incompetent, mm-hmm. they have to go back to the person who made the charge of trespassing. In this case, it would be CVS, and say, do you really want to press charges? That's the phrase. Do you want to press charges, or do you want to drop the charges? And at that point, if it's gotten this far, CVS should say, their legal department should say, drop the charges. Things just got heated. She wasn't trespassing. Let's just let it go. But in the case of Mother's Market, they pressed charges against two women who were standing there doing nothing, leaving money for their bottle of water and bag of chips. The other lady was just standing there. She wasn't buying anything whatsoever. The police handcuffed both of them, took them to jail for several hours. And Mother's Market, who I hope no one is ever going to shop there ever again, mm-hmm. Mother's Market pressed charges against these women. And they're actually, and further, the DA went along with it. The DA has the ability to drop the charges. So in Orange County, they were completely acting out of line and unlawfully. The DA is the one that should have charges pressed against him. We're not going to stop. Mm-hmm. We're not going to stop exposing the evildoers. So now they're awaiting their trial, which means they had to spend money to retain I know I'm shouting because I'm so upset. They had to spend money to retain a lawyer. This is absolutely ludicrous. So all of these actions need to be reviewed. These are felonies that are being committed mm-hmm. by the district attorney, by Mother's Market, by depriving them of their liberty. So it's absolutely astonishing that this is happening. We wouldn't even stand for this if it was happening in North Korea.
No.
People would be aghast. Mm-hmm. There is no charge of trespassing. It's absolutely illegal and unlawful. And I hope that these individuals will go and have a jury trial, and they'll go to face their accusers without a mask on, as they should. There is no law for a mask. You can go into a courtroom. You can go into the DMV. You can go get your medical care. Don't fall for it, friends. Mm-hmm. There's no law.
Mm-hmm.
Next,
All
they're
right,
going to
guys.
require you to donate a kidney.
I hope you guys are enjoying the show with Peggy Hall from The Healthy American. Go visit her website, thehealthyamerican.org. We're going to take a little bit, a bit of a break right now, but I would encourage you guys, send this video or send some of her videos to your county sheriff. Send it to people in your family or friends who are part of law enforcement so that they can understand what's going on here. So I hope you guys are enjoying the show, thehealthyamerican.org. We're going to take a little break. I want to tell you about this really great product that I take on a daily basis called Colostrum, and it is amazing. Check it out.
Forget superfoods. Colostrum is mammals' first food. Containing the essential building blocks for growth, gut integrity, and immune health. Often referred to as liquid gold, colostrum is known to balance immune function, support digestive health, and increase endurance and lean muscle mass. Colostrum's naturally balanced and living nutrition, which supplies growth and immune factors, is a delicious dose of restoration that's easy to use in powder or capsule form. Clean, conscientious, tested antibiotic-free, and produced in a U.S. GMP certified facility, it's your first food for second chances.
Yeah, guys, check this out on our store. If you guys want to support the show, everything is available at biochargeme.com. And this is a really great product to take for improving your gut health, your intestinal integrity, the lining of your digestive tract. It's also great, like Daniel was just saying there, for modulating your immune system. And this is an incredible product for that. And you can use it in a bunch of different ways, like Daniel was saying in that short clip. You can make foods with it. You can put it in smoothies. I put it in my coffee. You can do tons of different things with it. It makes everything taste creamy. It's just a really great addition, especially during the winter months, for modulating your immune system and for regulating your digestive system as well. It's a great, great product. If you guys are watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can click down on the description below. There should be a link to the colostrum on biochargeme.com. And I highly suggest making this part of your daily protocol. And here's something else that I want to tell you about too. Jumping up and down on a little mini trampoline. It's not for, Jane Fonda fans in 1971. It's really great for your immune system. It's a longevity exercise. It's a tremendous cardiovascular supporting exercise, and it helps flush out your lymphatic system. And here's Dr. Mikovits talking about just that.
And let's think about the simplest thing. I used to do one of those rebounders for exercise back in the 80s and things like that. And it's a wonderful way to move your lymphatics, because a lot of these toxins simply clog up the highways. Think about LA. That's why I take the train, because you can't get there from here. There's so much road construction, narrowing down to 3 lanes here and there. That blocks it all up. That's with the lymphatics. That's with the blood. That's why we see all this swelling and inflammation. And then all of these toxins are talking to the cells that say, I have to go repair. And overdoing repair causes cancers, because you need to turn that off.
So this is what it looks like, what I recommend. And this is the Bellicon Rebounder. And these are great machines because like Judy was saying, is that you have more lymphatic system fluid in your body than you do blood. And your lymph nodes, lymphatic cancers are on the rise. And as a result, we're getting these toxins and poisons, and they get stored in our lymph fluid. And so that's why, like, if you cut your finger, for example, you have lymph nodes in your armpit, because there's toxins that could get into a cut like that. And if that's the case, in order to protect your organs, your lymph fluid and your lymph nodes in your armpit are going to swell up, because it's protecting your internal organs. And like I said, lymphatic system cancers are on the rise, and this is a great way to flush out lactic acid, which is also tied to cancer, to flush out your lymph fluid. And it's a great longevity exercise and something I recommend at least a few times a week. And if you get one of these things, the great thing about them is they're silent. You jump up and down. It's like a mini trampoline. You can fold the legs, store underneath your bed, and make it a part of your sort of fitness protocol once a week or twice a week at least, if not every day, which is what I do. So I love these things, the Bellicon Rebounders. I cannot recommend them highly enough. You can get those available at biochargeme.com. and as well as a bunch of other products that we recommend as well. So make sure to bring these in, turn your home into a healing center. and get on board with this kind of thing, because health and immune system vitality doesn't come from a shot. And we're not going to really get into the vaccine, but health comes from building healthy disciplines, creating a pristine internal and external environment, and getting on the path of doing that is going to be incredibly helpful for your overall longevity, your vitality, and your health, and all of that. So those are available at biochargeme.com. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, there should be links down below. And we'll be right back with Peggy Hall right after this.
You're listening to Extreme Health Radio, and I hope you're enjoying this show. Please share it with your friends by tagging @Extreme Health Radio on Instagram. Stay tuned for new shows weekly.
New shows every single week, and I hope you join us. Subscribe, whatever you are listening on. If you're watching the show on YouTube or Facebook, make sure to subscribe. And if you are listening on a podcast app, make sure to subscribe on there as well. And that way you can get up to date with all of our information that we have going every single week. And here's another really great benefit too. This is episode 684. So we've done 683 other shows going all the way back to 2012. So new shows come out every Sunday night, Sunday evening, Pacific time around 10 o'clock. And then the other 6 days of the week, we play some of our best of archive shows. So that way, 7 days a week, you get a show from us, many of which, or some of which you may have never heard before. So make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher, or these types of things, so that way you don't miss any of our past archive shows as well. So this is a really, really awesome episode. And let me bring Peggy back on here too. And Peggy, I feel like what they're trying to do, these businesses, and they're trying to sort of connect up with the government and say, you know what, this is a pandemic, or a pandemic, and it's an emergency time, and it's emergency. We're allowed to do these things. We're allowed to make our customers wear masks, and that's kind of one of their excuses, right?
Yeah, it is an excuse, and a very weak one.
Right. I know. Yeah, it's like I don't know. I mean, I think they're just, like you said, being coerced into doing this, or bribed, or fined, or threatened. And I think that's why they're doing it. But, they're afraid to stand up, just like most people are going into the stores, right?
Yeah, the issue with the larger stores is they are government owned. So, Walmart is basically kind of a government entity. And I've read about this and I've studied this, because the number of the employees that are on government assistance, and there's a lot of, grants and special status and so forth. I'm beginning to wonder if Costco's the same, because those were the two big retailers that were able to stay open during all of this. It didn't make any sense to me. If there was an emergency and products were running scarce and all of that, and they didn't want people to be close to each other, if they had kept every store open, then there wouldn't be long lines, and you wouldn't have to stand 6 feet apart. You wouldn't have to wait outside if more stores were open. The whole thing, to me, the whole way that it was carried out is, I'm very skeptical. It was very burdensome. I mean, everyone is, unless they've really don't want to face reality and they're living in a sort of delusional psychosis. The fact is, this was a full out attack on our way of life. And the excuse of an emergency, it doesn't matter. Even if the results were different, and instead of 99% of the people recovering from whatever illness this is, 99.9% of the people died, even if that was the case, no emergency, no pandemic takes away your rights, takes away your freedom. Nothing suspends the law. So no emergency orders suspend the law. They, again, only apply to the executive branch of government. They only apply to the government. So if you read those emergency orders, the governors are directing the agencies under their direction, right? Because they're the boss. So they're giving a job assignment to the agency saying, we want you to stockpile this, and we want you to move that. And if there is the ambulances are needed, they should go here. It has nothing to do with individuals whatsoever. People fell for it because they were ignorant. And so my goal is to help educate people so they can, because the antidote to ignorance is education. So we're right in the thick of the battle with the stores. It's important to stay on them. There are a lot of success stories. Many people have followed my programs, my protocol, the suggestions that I have. People are armed with the information about their rights. And as you saw with Nari, she bought her products without wearing a mask in Los Angeles, which is one of the most militant places that there are. And she left. And everyone, no one has to wear a mask.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a personal choice.
So in the emails back and forth, you mentioned another topic you wanted to get into was how to get medical care without a mask or a test. Now this is a really big issue because some people are needing surgeries. They break their arm or whatever, and the hospitals are now trying to say that they're requiring a mask or test. So let's talk about this a little bit.
There is no requirement that can be enforced for a medical treatment that you refuse. There is something called a patient's bill of rights. And at thehealthyamerican.org, if you click on Get Help and you look under medical rights, I have some free videos. I have lots of information. I have step-by-step what to say. If you want to dig deeper, I do have an online course that people can take to get the letters, the documents, and all of that. But there's a lot of information that will get you started. Patient's Bill of Rights states that you have the right to refuse medical treatment that you don't want. You have the right to refuse participating in a medical experiment. Wearing a mask is a medical experiment because it's never been proven to work. Therefore, it's an experiment. Getting a COVID test, the tests are not approved by the FDA. They are authorized with an emergency authorization, meaning they don't know the side effect of the test. Vaccinating people through the nose has existed for a long, long time. So personally, I'm not going to get a test. The tests also are meaningless because the virus has never been isolated, and the tests are not, what do they even know they're testing for if there's no isolated virus? And even if we were to say that they were testing for something, the tests themselves have a high rate of inaccuracy. I've heard from people, for example, a mom, her son had a broken foot, and they said, we need you to get the test before we can fix the foot. And she said, well, when are you going to get the test results back? He said 3 days. They only wanted her to take the test. They wanted him to take the test, and they still were going to fix the foot. So she refused because they weren't going to delay the treatment depending on the results, because they wouldn't even have the results back. People need to understand this is control and nothing more. So you have the right to refuse any medical treatment that you don't want to participate in. There are many laws, state and federal laws as well, that you may not coerce anyone into any type of medical treatment. So you go and you say, I want to speak to the charge nurse at the hospital, for example, or I want to speak to the hospital administrator. And what I recommend is you have the Patient's Bill of Rights on your phone, and you have the nurse read to you the Patient's Bill of Rights, and you have that nurse stop on the number where it says that the patient has the right to refuse treatment and not be denied additional treatment. What happens is people feel vulnerable when they go to the doctor. Even prior to all of this hogwash, going to the doctor can make people feel anxious, nervous, less than, right? The doctor's one up. They're the ones with all the knowledge, and it can be intimidating to go to the doctor. So I recommend that you plan this out in advance. Call the emergency room near your home and say, hey, what would happen if I were to come in and I don't want to get a test, but I need to get treatment? What would happen? So you plan this in advance. It's very troubling to me when I get an email or a phone call from someone who is in the delivery room with his wife saying they want my wife to put on a mask during delivery. And I'm like, didn't you plan all this in advance? This is something you could have taken care of. You don't wait at the last minute. You don't arrive at the airport and then not get on the plane. You plan it out in advance. Yes, this is the society we live in now, but we have to outsmart them at every stage of the game. The law is on our side. And the law states that you may not be coerced into any medical treatment. When it comes to your own doctor or your own dentist or chiropractor, whatever you're going to do, the same thing. You call them in advance and you work this out in advance. And you can say, look, they will say, you are a threat to the health and safety of others because you're not wearing a mask. They have to prove that you are a threat. They cannot make a generalization based on the assumption that you not wearing a mask makes you contagious. It doesn't. The only way that they can prove, and the only way that you don't have the right to be at your doctor's office without a mask, or at the public library if it's still open, or anywhere at the grocery store, the only way you could be required to wear a mask is if a judge orders it. And if a judge orders issues an order of quarantine against you, that's the only evidence that would be supported stating that you are a threat to others, because that's what they'll say. Well, we can't have you here because without a mask, you're going to be a threat to the health and safety of our customers. Well, they have to prove it, and it has to be proven in a court of law. And until it's proven, you have the right to go wherever you want. So you educate your doctor about this. And if they hem and haw, I have a whole class where we talk about the doctor-patient relationship. You have to have a 30-day notice if they're going to drop you, where you're going to make your complaints with the medical licensing board in your state, with the insurance grievance department of any insurance that you carry. You're going to inform your doctor. I have all these letters written out for you in the class. And I've had success stories of people telling me that Kaiser actually apologized to her because she went forth with the information that I taught, and she was able to have her treatment without a mask, without testing. They actually apologized, and they said that they would educate the other employees there to not harass people who are not going to wear a mask or get tested. Further, it's going to come down to the vaccine, which is why I stand so strongly on the mask. You just fill in the blank. It's the mask, it's the temperature, it's the testing, it's the vaccine. Next, it is going to be, you are required to give up a kidney because it's very selfish of you to have two. You only need one.
Yeah.
Where's it going to end? Where's it going to end?
Hey, Peggy,
it sounds funny, but I'm serious. Yeah.
I'm going to show your website right now for people to take a look at where this information is about this course that you have. So I'm going to bring this up real quick. But quickly, a meme that I saw recently was so true is the biggest fraud that the government has done is now convincing healthy people that they're sick. That's so true, right?
It's very distressing.
Yeah. Okay, so if people I'm on the healthyamerican.org. Let me go to the homepage. And where can people get access to these courses that you have?
So go under help, and you'll see the employee rights is an important one. That's for people that are told by their employer that they have to wear a mask or that they have to get tested.
Oh, cool.
That's very, very important to fight. Because if you agree with it, then you won't have any standing to fight other things. I recommend you do a religious exemption.
Okay.
And then medical rights is if you have to go get your doctor's treatments and so forth. And what I would like to also show is if you go across the top where it says documents and you click on that page, I have two important videos that I think are the most essential, if I can use that word, the most essential videos to watch. And it explains what is a public accommodation. Your doctor is a public accommodation, Costco, the DMV. As I said, in the grocery store, you have the right to be in these places without restraint. You have the right to be there. The second video talks about what to do when you've had your rights discriminated against. And this page, if you scroll through, has all of the most important documents and letters that I've created. It's got number 3, how do you help other businesses? I do a lot of seminars. I've helped thousands of businesses. Some of them that you would know, they've been in the news. Stay open legally and keep their professional license intact. I'm working with hairdressers, hair salons, restaurants, gyms. So very important information here about shutdowns are illegal. Number 4 is if you want to help a business, you can let them know that they don't have to shut down or restrict their operations. Number 5 is the most important. It's a card that you can bring to the store, and it describes your civil rights. Everything I've said, you have the right to be there. And the direct threat, the only way they can kick you out or say that you are a threat is if there is a sworn affidavit from a medical doctor who has examined you saying that you're carrying a contagious disease, and that sworn affidavit has been taken by the health officer to a court of law, and the judge has issued an order of quarantine against you. Aside from that, my friends, you can go anywhere you want on God's green earth, unless you have, like, you've heard of the word, a restraining order against you, right? This is a type of restraining order. And if you don't, you can go wherever you want. And then number 12 is very important. What to do if you've been discriminated against. And I have letters, sample examples there of taking somebody to small claims court. I hope that people will take these store clerks to small claims court. I hope they'll take the police officers. I hope that they will take, small claims is very easy. You don't need an attorney. You can get up to $10,000. They will get a summons to appear in court in the mail, which I think is very impactful.
I love that.
So this page is very important. All the documents, letters to help people get underway, and then the events, what we've got coming up. And I think under products, I also have the classes are listed there. So
classes and products. Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. So people can, so $125, $39, 30. Oh my gosh, this is, I mean, how much work are you putting? I mean, this is so much information you're giving people. This is so good.
I feel, you know what, Justin, I feel like I've written about 10 books in 10 months. Luckily, you know, I'm a researcher. I used to write. I've published several hundred articles in national magazines on health and wellness. So I know about researching and writing, and I just rolled up my sleeves. I had literally have not gotten a good night's sleep in 10 months because I stay up till 2:00 in the morning, but I'm never going to stop. And I'm on record to say I'm going to march this all the way to heaven. I'm putting everything on the line because nothing is more important than our freedom. I will never capitulate. I will never acquiesce. I will never bow down to evil. We didn't get into the spiritual side of things, but this is actually a battle, a spiritual battle for the soul of humanity. They want to crush the soul of humanity. They don't even hide it. There are many, many videos that have been released in the previous years about artificial intelligence and taking over the human soul and improving on humans, which is an affront to me because God created me in his image. It doesn't need any improving. So to me, there is nothing more important than standing for truth. And it's not even standing. It's not even defending. It's fighting now. I used to say when I made this video, when I made this website 10 months ago, I used to say, you know, standing for freedom. And it's amazing how quickly things have changed. I don't stand for anything. It's a full out battle. It's a war.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Hey, Peggy, do you want to take the last couple of minutes and answer some questions in the chat room?
I love the questions. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. All right. So let me see if I can do this. No, that doesn't work. Okay. What we'll do is bring you back up here. All right. So the first one is sort of something that, you know, we've heard a lot, but Michael says here, what if the stores require the mask, which we kind of went over? If they're private businesses, aren't they in control of that? And then he says here, this is something I think we should touch on. Like convenience stores say, no shirt, no shoes, no service. Isn't it the same thing with masks? So I feeling,
yeah,
I know what you're going to say.
We hear that. We hear that one a lot. Well, the difference is shoes and shirts are not medical devices. Remember, a mask is a medical device. So I just want you to understand that. Mm-hmm. Asking you to put on a shirt is not asking you to undertake a medical experiment. Asking you to wear shoes or requiring you to wear shoes. First of all, there's no law for wearing shoes. And them asking you to wear shoes is not a violation of any right. I have the right to life. I don't breathe through my feet. The shirt is covered under decency laws. So there is a law that requires you to have your body clothed, but there is no law that requires you to restrict your breathing. So the no shoes, no shirt, can't they just make a law? They can make any store policy they want as long as it doesn't violate the law. Can they require you to snort cocaine to enter the mini mart? Can they require a Muslim to eat a ham sandwich? No, they can't. So they can't require me, a Christian, to veil my face because I never will. And it's against my religion.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's a great question. And everybody will ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes up a lot, right? Because people think that these things are the same, but these things are essentially restricting your ability to respirate. And this is, you know, where our life comes from through our breath. And, you know, have you ever had anybody ask, tell the store clerk, okay, if I pass out as a result of shopping in your store and you forcing me to wear a mask, if I pass out, are you okay if I sue you personally in the store as well? Have you had anyone say that to a store and say, I'll wear the mask, but if I pass out, then I'm going to sue you, basically?
Yeah, that is one of the arguments, and one of the approaches is to ask for their liability, and they don't have it. So they are asking you to undertake a medical intervention for which they have no duty and for which they have no liability. They are not responsible for you to do that. And if you were to pass out, or if you were to wear this medical device and then contract COVID, and you say that you undertook their medical advice and you got sick, show me that you have the insurance that covers that, and they don't. And usually that's not, in my experience, that has not been enough for them to say, well, in that case, come on in and shop. They'll probably say, oh yeah, we do. So you can do it, but I think it's a weak argument. I think it's something that needs to be done in advance, not on the spot. You can, write to Trader Joe's and ask them now. You can say, I understand that you're asking me to wear a mask, so I would like you to provide me with your insurance binder that shows that you have insurance and that you are liable and that you have a duty of care as a grocery store to practice medicine. I want to see that in writing. I want to see that the state of California has passed a law that allows you to practice medicine without a license. All of this needs to be done in advance, not on the spot. Mm-hmm. It won't happen. They'll just say you can't shop or I'll shop for you. They're not equipped. These store clerks don't have the level of, they don't have the capacity. And I don't mean intelligence. They just don't have, they're ignorant. They're ignorant on what the laws state. And so doing it on the spot, in my view, is the least effective way to do it. The emotions are high. Further, when somebody is wearing a mask, they are not able to smell, let alone breathe, but they can't smell. And smelling is governed by your olfactory nerve. And when your olfactory nerve is damaged, you are not able to maintain emotional and mental balance. Your olfactory nerve governs your emotional balance and your memory and your learning. So people that are not smelling, not just not breathing, which also increases anxiety and your inability to think clearly and rationally, but you're not smelling things causes these people to fly off the handle. I think people wearing a mask for hours at a time are very dangerous. I don't want to be around them. I feel that they could fly off the handle, that there could be violence. They're very dangerous people. I can't see their identity. They look very sinister and menacing. I don't know if they could do me harm. So I personally do not like to be around anyone wearing a mask for a long period of time, like store clerks and all of that. So I can shop in stores fine where I am. I've never worn a mask in a store. I never will. But I don't like to be in the sea of evil. So I have, years ago and in the previous months before they were asking people to wear the mask, I stocked up quite well. I never need to step foot in a store. I never do. If I need something, I'll have it delivered. Somebody may say, well, Peggy, you're capitulating. No, I'm not. I'm not wearing a mask. It's a luxury to have my groceries delivered. I don't have to go anywhere. They bring them to me. Gosh, I wish I had done that years ago, had my groceries delivered. I feel like I'm living in luxury. It's all how you put the spin on it. So no, I will never wear a mask in a grocery store ever, or a doctor's office. I will never do it.
I love it. I love it. Okay. A couple more questions. And hey, you guys, if you have any questions, please type them in all caps so I don't miss them. I'm trying to sort of scroll through here. But here's one. Hi, Justin. Can you please ask Peggy what to do if your state has health orders saying masks must be worn? What if the hospital says they have to follow the health orders?
So we covered this one earlier. You speak to the hospital administrator, go to get help, scroll down for the medical rights. I have all of the questions. They're right there on the page, and you can follow the system that I recommend. And if you want more help on that, I recommend doing the class, but there's a lot of info you can get for free. You don't have to do it. You don't have to wear the mask.
Awesome. I love
the health orders. I want to say one more thing, Justin. Health orders these health orders are unlawful because they were all made based on an emergency, and there is no emergency. And if you read the law carefully and you read about law enforcement, it actually states that only lawful orders have to be enforced. And these are not lawful because there is no emergency. They were made under fraudulent conditions. So there is no emergency. There's no evidence of an emergency. The numbers are fake, phony, fraud, and fraudulent because the tests are fake, phony, and fraudulent. So it's all, I'm not saying people don't get sick. I've had people tell me they have COVID. That's fine. I've never talked about that. Not a problem to me. I don't care if people have appendicitis or allergies either. Has nothing to do with me whatsoever. Neither does COVID. It has nothing to do with me whatsoever. Sneezing is not against the law. Being sick is not against the law. So I don't care. You could have COVID. It doesn't matter. You could have an appendicitis attack. You could have a headache. That's for you to take care of, not me.
Mm-hmm. I love it. A couple comments in the chat room. This is pretty cool. Peggy, you're a true warrior for the American people. And then someone else said, Peggy and Justin both deserve Nobel Peace Prizes for their work helping the people. I just feel like it's necessary, right, Peggy? I mean, this is like our calling, right? To help empower people.
Justin, you must be so frustrated. You've been in the health field for many years. You've been doing your broadcast and your podcast and bringing all this information and, looking at what you offer in terms of bringing the truth to people. I got into health and wellness, oh my gosh, about 20 years ago because I lost my dad to medical terrorism. And I didn't know at the time that what they were telling him was actually going to kill him. And it did, because they put him on statins, and statins are known to cause heart attacks. And that's what he died of, was a heart attack. And this health tyranny and that's not the right word, medical tyranny and medical terrorism has been around for a long time. And I know that you've been on the front lines trying to educate people about it for years. And then to see all of this come to fruition for the evildoers, it's the acceleration of it is what's astonishing to me. Mm-hmm. So I will seek out opportunities to share this information far and wide. I'm so grateful to you, Justin, for having me as a guest on the show. I know I kind of hijacked the conversation, but gosh, I just get so passionate about this.
No, I know, it's great. And like we're talking about before we even started recording today, that, 2021, a lot of people are really negative about it and down and all of that. But man, I'm with you. I think that there is a tremendous opportunity for growth in so many different aspects of our life. And I think 2021 is going to be an amazing year for personal growth, for people waking up.
I love that. People are smarter. They're more aware, alert, awake, alive. People that may have put some of their dreams and goals on hold, thinking they had all the time in the world to do it. Now they realize that society can change, and it's time to no longer, you got to take those dreams off the shelf, open the box, and get moving on them. The amount of contacts that I've made with people have told me that they are so grateful because they've made new friends, true friends. Mm-hmm. And they feel that they have something to look forward to. And that's the most important in my view, is always have something to look forward to. Don't give in, don't give up, and don't give over your freedom. Don't give over and give in your goals, your dreams. They're still valid. Many people are despairing. They think, well, what can I do? The powers that be have it in for me. I can't fight against them. Yes, you can. I've got thousands of success stories. Mm-hmm. And stick with it, be brave, take action, keep going. Your actions are important, even if you don't get the results you want. You planted a seed, you helped educate others. So yeah, I stand with you on that for sure.
I love that. The healthyamerican.org, guys, I don't really normally sort of really plug someone's products or what they're doing. I like to just give people a platform, but I have to tell you guys, go over and sign up for her email list, because she's sending out a couple emails a week with documents, with all this information. And I mean, this is a busy time that we're living in. And, I've got 2 twin boys, 2.5 years old. Time is such a priority for me. But she's done all the work for you. I would consider $40 buying some of her courses, learning about this, joining her email list, because if we don't act, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. It's not like they're going to give back some of the freedom they've taken away. Because Peggy, last I checked, if you want to go on an airplane, they're still making you take off your belt and take off your shoes from whatever the underwear bomber in 2001. They don't typically give back their power, do they?
No, they don't, Justin. And that's an area I just wanted to make a mention to. People are asking me about flying. And you need to drive. You need to drive, or you need to delay your trip. You need to have the people come visit you, or do a charter or private. And many months ago, I spoke about getting the Patriot pilot program going. And I put out a call to pilots or people that had jets that wanted to join this group, because my way of thinking is that we need to have really our own freedom communities. We need to operate outside of this government structure that's so oppressive. And I wasn't able to fly on Southwest many months ago, even though I called in advance, which is what I always recommend. You call in advance. This was in the summer before they were requiring masks. And I even had a little chuckle. I called 3 times. I spoke to 3 different people to assure me that I'd be able to fly without a mask. I was only going to Sacramento. It was like an hour flight. And we had a little chuckle saying, oh, it's a good thing you're flying Saturday, because on Monday, the masks are going to be required. I'm like, yeah, I got in just under the wire. So it's not like I misunderstood it. And I printed it out, and I went to the airport, and they wouldn't let me get on the plane. And I did lives on all of that. And people said, Peggy, are you going to sue Southwest? And it's like, I put in my complaint. They actually refunded my money. And I heard from people that have been suing Southwest. I heard from employees that were discriminated against, and the lawsuits are going 4 years later. So no, I'm not going to sue Southwest. I'm going to use my time, energy, and resources to creating a new airline, because why am I going to fight with Southwest? Why am I going to fight with Costco? We need somebody else to create a new Costco, a new member. And why would we want a new Costco anyway? We need to have a new grocery store chain that doesn't require all of this. We need to have pilots and planes that are going to fly that don't require this. And that is what's going to happen. People will also say, Peggy, how do I get an exemption for my child wearing a mask at school? You don't send them to school.
Yeah.
You have your children educated at home as it should be. And I've got I've got my freedom learning course there as well. So we don't fix what's broken. We recreate something new and better the way we want it. We have limited time, energy, and resources. Put it toward good. That's my bottom line. That's what I do at the Healthy American. I want people to be empowered and encouraged and educated on their rights, how to fight for them. And there are plenty of success stories. You know what? I'm not going to go down with the ship. I am going to go full steam ahead. And I do believe we are going to make positive changes.
Yeah, I do too. I'm really, really encouraged by that. All right, Peggy. Well, thank you so much again. So final question for you. What are you going to do today? Anything fun? It's a beautiful day here in Southern California. You're going to go to the beach or do anything fun?
I do. Yesterday was Thursday. I do give myself a little time on Thursday afternoon. I have a self-defense class that I do. But it seems like wherever I go, I run into Healthy Americans. So we did our self-defense class. Healthy Americans are there. We went out to a mask-free dinner afterwards. Nice. Healthy Americans sitting in there, hey, I know you. So my work is enjoyable for me. My work and my life are indistinguishable. So for me, it's not like I really take time off because I love what I do. I am going to be doing additional interviews. I'm going to be recording videos. I think I'm going to record one about I've done several videos on the no shoes, no shirt, no service. But of course, those kind of like your shows, you get the updated ones. And so I've got all of that available at YouTube. Hundreds and hundreds of videos on Facebook, on YouTube, but I will also do one on the trespassing. I haven't done one on trespassing, nice. So that will be coming up. I hope everybody will go to the Healthy American, my YouTube channel. I've got a BitChute I'm on Facebook under Peggy Hall, and also the Healthy American. Those are my main media platforms. I am, yes, on all of the alternative media, Gab and Telegram and all of that, but I'm not active. The best place to find me is YouTube. I do interact and I do answer questions there.
Awesome. All right, Peggy. So I think what I'm going to do is I will email you this. I'll send you a link to where you can download the video for this, because as you know, the censorship is massive. So if you want to take the video and do whatever you want with it, just get the word out further. I'll send it to you, and that way you can, if they take mine down, at least you have a copy as well.
Perfect.
All right, Peggy, thank you so much. Thank you for all the work that you do. I really appreciate it, and thanks so much again for being on. It's just amazing. So I appreciate your time today. I know it's very important, so thank you.
Thank you, Justin. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, there you go. Peggy Hall from thehealthyamerican.org. I hope you enjoyed that show. Whew. A lot was said there, right? A lot was said. And it's really important, I think, moving into 2021 to understand where our rights come from and understanding about contract law, understanding a lot about what Peggy's saying, standing up for your rights. This is going to be something, like I mentioned before, that they're not going to give these things back to you. This is not how that works. So if it's this bad now, it's only going to get worse. And I've watched all the conspiracy documentaries about the Great Reset and Klaus Schwab and all that stuff. And like I mentioned during the show, you and I are still taking off our shoes if we want to fly, taking off our belt and getting a full pat down, or going through, all of the security checkpoints and all that stuff because of the underwear bomber in 2001 after 9/11. So that's 20 years ago, guys, and we're still doing that. The head of Moderna, I think the other day said, and now, of course, it's like, how does he know, right? But he says the other day, masks are here to stay, and they're not going to give up, guys. So it's really important for all of us. Like I was mentioning before to our Extreme Health Academy members, this is an opportunity for all of us to start learning about contract law, start learning about our rights. And I'm a little less, not aggressive, but I don't know, I'm a little more tolerant and lenient because we're all on our own journey, right? We're all learning this on our own. We all have our different aspects of life. But I think the direction that we all have to go is learning how to stand up for our rights, learning what contract laws are, learning what offers are, learning local politics, who's our local county sheriff, who's our mayor, who's our governor, these types of things. And, learning that. And one of the things I was talking about, we were discussing in our academy this morning, is taking full inventory of your life and looking at the different apps you use, looking at your different cell phone plans that you use, where you buy your food, how you get your food, different ways that you consume content, and looking at, sitting down one day and looking at all these types of things and figuring out how we can change that, how we can modify that. So for some people, like for example, here's a good one, Amazon.com, right? You're starting to look at some of the draconian things that they're doing. Recently there's a story that just came out that they were talking about working with the U.S. government to help distribute and disseminate vaccines. A couple months ago, Amazon got involved in the pharmaceutical industry so that now, instead of going to CVS or going to Walgreens, now you can get your medications distributed through Amazon.com and through Prime. And so they're getting into this pharmaceutical business as well. So now you're looking at that thinking, I love Amazon, right? All the different things that they can do, how quick I can get my items, how easy it is, blah, blah, blah. And so now we got to start looking at, okay, how do we start buying directly from websites themselves? Because like Peggy was saying, that some of these businesses, and especially airlines as well, I believe, are tied to the government. And this is why places like Walmart, Target, Costco, these types of places are able to stay open, because they're somehow getting some kind of funding from the government, and they're allowed to stay open, whereas small businesses have to shut down. So what do you do, right? What do you do? Somehow we're able to exist 20 years ago without Amazon, right? Life is a little bit more difficult. You have to have a little more patience. But I think moving into 2021, we really have to start taking stock of our entire lives. It's critically important, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that show, and I hope that that you are now going to go sign up for Peggy's email list. I would really, really recommend that, guys. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, please sign up to her email list. I'm on her email list. It's really, really great to be on it because you get updates to everything that she has going on. And I think that it's really important for us to start demanding and taking control. So, one of the things like I was talking about was, where we get our food, how we travel, how we consume content, what apps we use on our phones, what types of phones we have. Recently, I heard that Gab was coming out with their own phone, because you probably know what happened with Parler, the alternative social media site that now got shut down by Amazon because they were supposedly disseminating aggressive and dangerous content. So Amazon just pulled the plug because Parler was using their Amazon Web Services to host their platform. And then all of a sudden, Amazon can just shut them off. And now Apple and other app stores, Google Play or whatever, are now controlling that. So now what do we need? We need a physical device that doesn't rely on those platforms, right? So that's what Gab apparently is doing. And so this is the type of thing that we really need to start taking stock of our own life and really looking at how we sustain ourselves. So maybe for you, it might mean that you continue to shop at Amazon, but maybe you shop a little bit less. For some people, it might be not shopping at Mother's or not shopping at Costco or canceling your membership there. For you, it might be a combination of doing that and getting some chickens, or that and buying some of Peggy Hall's courses and starting to look at what our rights are. I'm telling you guys, 2021 is going to be a time for a great awakening. It's going to be a time where we all wake up and start taking more responsibility for our life, our happiness, and who we are, where we're going, and what we're doing. And it's so important to sort of sit back and extricate yourself from the daily mundane tasks that we all do, right? Walking the dogs, taking care of the kids, driving the kids to and from school, doing all these types of things, going to work, running errands. We need to step back and say, what are we doing? What is the purpose of my life? Where am I going? How reliant am I upon the government and big business? And I think it's really important that we do that and look at all aspects of our life and do what you can, right? None of us can be 100% extracted from the matrix. We just can't do it, right? It takes time because we didn't just get into the matrix overnight. One day we got a Gmail account. One day we signed up for an Amazon account. One day we joined Facebook, right? And then we start getting used to these platforms, and these services are amazing. There's a reason why they're extremely addictive and wildly popular, because they're great in terms of, what you can do with them and all that kind of stuff. But so this is why I'm talking about, like, in the same way that you wouldn't change your diet overnight, I don't recommend that. I recommend moving slowly, right? Building disciplines, getting out of the habit of using certain platforms. So for me, for creating new content, we're going to be putting a lot of our stuff on BitChute, and we're going to be, moving different platforms. And as far as consuming content, the same holds true, right? So really, I encourage you to take a look at every aspect of your life and figure out ways you can improve and move away from big business. This is incredibly important. And if we can get 333 million Americans to do this, not counting people around the world, this would cripple big tech. This would cripple big businesses like Costco. This would be a real issue if everyone actually started doing this. And we all don't have to do 100% of it. We could do little bits of it. So my job on this platform is to give you guys options, is to let you know that there's people out there in different aspects of health and well-being that exist, and you can get into their content, right? This is a platform for all of us to look further at different aspects and different options we have, because, you're never going to see Peggy Hall on CNN. You're not going to see that. So they may censor her and they may censor us, but in the meantime, what we have to do is get the word out. And this is why we have the guests we do on our radio show. And I really like the work that she's doing. I cannot stress enough how important it is. Get on her email list, guys. Educate yourself. Buy her courses. $40. I mean, she's done so many hours of research, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to do all that research. So I really encourage you guys to join up on the healthyamerican.org, empower yourself, start learning. Let 2021 be a time for not the great reset, but a great awakening and a great path for self-improvement and personal growth and spiritual growth. Let 2021 be a time where we make great changes and great strides in our own personal life. And in the process, what will happen is that we'll start educating and awakening up our friends and family. But don't let that be the initial goal. Our job is not to wake anybody up. Our job is to awaken ourselves and to create a better life for ourselves through personal growth, spiritual growth, diet, food, lifestyle, environment. All of these things go into becoming a healthy person. Oh, man, I love it. I love it. I love it. I think 2021 is going to be an amazing year. I think it's going to be an awesome year. And I know I've said before that a lot of people are down, a lot of people are crushed. A lot of people are looking at our freedoms going away and forced vaccinations and things. And this is an opportunity for all of us to grow. So maybe one day we'll do a show and we'll talk about all the different things that we're moving, different platforms we're moving to, different accounts we're closing down, different ways we're procuring our food. Maybe we'll do a show on that. And so you guys that are watching or listening, what I would recommend you do is start somewhere. Maybe cancel your Amazon account. Maybe buy there less. And start moving in the direction of information that's going to help and empower you. So if I were you, I would join the Extreme Health Academy, because every week we do live calls and we talk as a group. We have a member map in there where you can find other members in your area, local members. Because what happens if you need to barter? What happens if you need people that think like you do and you need to rely on people locally? We have a member map area in the Extreme Health Academy where you can add your marker and people can find you and you can find other people in your area. This is going to become really important moving into the future. And this is why we have to keep it as a private community. So there should be a link down below. Join the Extreme Health Academy, guys. Find other people that think like you do and get involved. Plug yourself into communities of like-minded people, because we need to come together as a community and as people who think the way we do to empower ourselves and to glean inspiration and motivation from each other. So join the Extreme Health Academy. Join Peggy Hall's thehealthyamerican.org newsletter. I really encourage you guys to do that. Consider getting some of her courses. I mean, $40 for a course is nothing, guys. So if you want to do that, there should be links down below. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, there's links down below for the Extreme Health Academy. EHR14 gives you a 14-day trial. Say hello to me in the forums and come join us on one of the Zoom calls, 9 a.m. every Friday morning Pacific from 9 to 10 a.m. Before we do the radio shows. Join up at thehealthyamerican.org. And really, it's time for us to do a complete overhaul in our life. And I think that's the message that I get from this show. Is on every level, from your health to your spiritual health, to your environment, everything. Let's overhaul our entire health and our lives and see where that takes us and see what kind of difference we can make in the world, internally and externally as well. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that show. That was episode 684 with Peggy Hall. So we'll make all the links available at extremehealthradio.com/684. Thank you again for joining us. And do me a favor, please send this video or podcast to anybody you know that may be involved in local politics or a sheriff, police officer. Please send this to them. I'd greatly appreciate that, because they need to learn what these laws are as well. And what we need to do is have these police officers start really looking at what the hell are they enforcing? What are they enforcing? And start getting them to think. This is where we need to go. Because we need to have people that are going to be, if they're going to be working at a place like Costco, to really start wondering, should I be telling people to wear masks and what are the implications of that, and really start questioning this stuff. So pass this show on to your friends and family, but most importantly, pass it on to anybody you know that's in law enforcement, a sheriff, or any of the legal aspects of law, a lawyer, things like that. So I really appreciate you guys sharing the show. That means the world to me. Share it on Instagram as well if you can. I would greatly appreciate that. Grab a little screenshot from, screen grab from the video version and share it on Instagram and tag me. I'd love to see that, and thank you for that. So I love you guys all so much. You guys are just amazing, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of what you do and the fact that you listen to our show. And I'm just eternally grateful for your support. So thank you again so much for all your support. Come and join us in the Academy. And if you're ever looking for products, you can always shop on biochargeme.com, and that helps to support our work for us to continue this work. That really helps us. So thank you again. Love you guys all. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for sharing our work, and become a member of the Academy. Join Peggy's newsletter, and you'll be glad you did both those things. I'm telling you guys. All right, love you guys. I'll see you next Friday. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening or watching, and I'll see you next Friday. If you're an Academy member, I'll see you next Friday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. All right, guys, love you so much, and we'll talk soon.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as a treatment/cure for any disease or health condition, and nor should it be continued as such. Always work with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, prescription drug use, lifestyle, or exercise activities. This information